Hi, everybody. I'm meteorologist Joe Chaffee. Very interesting runs tonight so far. I'm going to show you the NAM run, which was a bit ridiculous, but there are some things that I want to point out on it that are interesting. And the GFS run, which might be a little ridiculous in the other direction, but I have an open mind to everything here. But let's take a look and see what's going on. Okay, so here we have that southern system, and you can see it's very vigorous here. And what the NAM does is it cuts it off, which is what the other models do. You see that northern jet here that keeps cold air in place. The NAM decides that when it brings that system offshore Saturday night, it basically sits it there rather than move it along, so that by Sunday morning the upper low has hardly moved, maybe moved a little bit to the east. But it does bring it far enough north that we do get into the heart of the precipitation that it produces. And when we look at that precipitation, I'm going to switch over to the total rainfall melted acute maps. You can see what it did. And there's two things to point out on this. The first is that it brings the northern edge of the precipitation much further north than it did on prior runs. And it also, and this was startling to me, generated these very large liquid measurables across Long Island, New Jersey, back into southeastern Pennsylvania. You're talking 2.5 to 3.5 inches of melted liquid. Frankly, I think that's obscene, and you'll have to, at the very least, you want to probably cut those in half. Okay, and when we look at the surface, you can see what it does in terms of the moisture field. Now, this is on Sunday morning, so when we go back, what it does on the surface low, and there you can see it here. Gets into northern Alabama, southernmost Tennessee. Then it begins its redevelopment phase, intensifies, and moves off the North Carolina coast. And then it does this kind of loop back toward Chesapeake Bay. It showed this back yesterday at one point, and then it just kind of leaves it there, and because the upper low doesn't move. So as a result, all this snow pivots around and back to the coast. And in fact, there's so much warm air that comes in from the east back into southern New England. It actually has even rain just offshore of Boston. And, this would be a lot of heavy snow that would fall overnight, Saturday night into Sunday morning, if that were the case. And it still has it snowing here Sunday morning at 7 a.m. as the primary low dies out and then reforms further northeast than what the other models have been showing. So when we jump over to the GFS model, which I'll do right now, I'll show you the differences. And the GFS tonight was a bit of a disappointment to me. And there's the redevelopment, but it never really wraps the low up very deep. I mean, it gets it deep, but it's not super deep. That might be right. That might be wrong. I don't know. This is Saturday morning with snow on our doorstep, and then it actually brings some heavy snow over Long Island and into New Jersey. You can see where the darker blue is. Also shows some shades of pink, and I'm not sure if it's picking up sleet up in the northern areas, which I find a little odd. And then it kind of takes the low to the same spot at the end of the day by Sunday morning, but it just doesn't have that, obviously it doesn't have that super vigorous look that the NAM did. So we look at the difference aloft, and you can see with the upper low that it's a little different. There's the upper low, and it gets off the Virginia coast there, and it kind of rotates around a little bit, but then it starts moving out to the east. Okay, so there's the big difference with the NAM. So there's the GFS at 84 hours. Okay, and I'm just going to punch the dam back up. And you can see the difference. You can see how the upper low on the NAM is much more organized looking as opposed to the GFS. Now, it could be a clue that the other models that the GFS may catch up on later. See, the GFS has a much more suppressed look at Sunday morning as it kind of sinks that upper low further south, whereas the NAM tries to lift it up. So if you get that lifting, yeah, you're going to bring snows up to Boston, to somewhere between Kingston and Albany, and the back edge of the snow, as opposed to perhaps being a little further south. So in terms of snow amounts on the GFS, we'll put that up. And you can see it kind of cut everything. It's got basically a 6 to 10 inch snowfall with some 1 foot plus amounts over interior central New Jersey, but it never really does very much when you go out to Long Island. And you can see where the northern edge of the snow is. I'm going to jump back a couple of runs. We'll go back to the run right before it, and you can see here it was a little more robust with the snowfall, but it was also just a shade further south. So for some reason, it wants to expand the precipitation area a little further to the north, but at the same time, because of the structure of how it has the upper energy, it is much less dynamic, so it produces less than it did as at 18Z. They had 1 foot plus snows over Long Island, central New Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania, and then of course even down here I was a little surprised that it showed, it did show less. And then when you look at this new run, it's back to showing big amounts down south and west of Washington, D.C., back to just south and west of Philadelphia, but then it lessens them as you move up to the north and east into southwest Connecticut. It's got 3 inches there up in northern Connecticut. But this would probably match up pretty well with the map, my first call snowfall map. So, when I saw the NAM tonight, I got nervous. And I guess I'll show you the snowfall map on the NAM, but I'm going to tell you right now, please don't say that I'm forecasting this, because I'm not. I'm just not going to do it. But you can see on the NAM here just how ridiculous it got, because it generated all that precip. I mean, it's got this huge area of 2 foot plus snows in Pennsylvania, across New Jersey. It even spits out a 33-inch amount. Oh, yeah, that'll happen. And then you've got these 1 foot plus snows over Long Island, even higher. But then it also takes stronger measurables in terms of snowfall. Now it has double the amount up in northern Connecticut at 6 inches, and it has some decent snow up to Boston, and it has decent snow up as you move up north of Poughkeepsie in the Hudson Valley and heading up toward Kingston, and doesn't really show too much further north than that. So look, the bottom line is that I don't think there's anything here that is telling me to change my forecast. Now, what I will say about the NAM model is that, it used to be pretty good, and I still like to use it, especially when we get into the short range, just to try to figure out things within the 12 or 24-hour time frame, because it's got this map shows what the radar is supposed to look like, and I do like to look at it. I do like to look at the data that comes out of it to see what kind of temperatures it has at the lower levels. But we're still too early in the game to see if this is anything real. Again, I really am suspicious because it does so much. But at the same time, I want to keep it in the back of my mind, because it is doing something different. And there was a time when we got into the short range, that sometimes the NAM would offer a clue as to what the European might do. So let's see what the European run does, which will be out shortly, and I'll have another video up there as soon as it's over with, and you can take a look at it. For now, if the European does what it did on its prior run, I'm going to leave my forecast alone. If it starts coming in and looking like the GFS, I'll wait till tomorrow morning to see what the mid-runs do, and see if there's any changes, and make adjustments accordingly. If for some reason it comes in and does what the NAM does, then I'm going to have to also reevaluate my forecast in the other direction in terms of perhaps nudging amounts higher. So let's be open-minded and patient, and we'll wait a short period of time. It'll be out not far enough in about an hour. It's 12:30 in the morning Eastern time when I'm doing this, and enjoy your Friday. Still quite a bit of time left to go on this.